Hi, welcome to Banner Children's. We want to make sure that we keep your children safe here. So we want to give you little tips on what to do as far as sun safety and water safety. You need to remember with those younger kids, their skin is really thin and it's still developing. So we need to make sure that we put as little amount of chemicals on them as possible. So for those kids under 6 months of age, we recommend, and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends, that we just put sunblock and make it a baby sunblock, anywhere between 30 to 50 SFP, and just make sure we put it on their hands and we put it on their feet. Other things that we can do to protect them is make sure that we keep them in a little shade. And then we can, of course, use sunblock clothing. So this will cover them up really well. And we also want to make sure that we put hats on them to keep their little heads covered. And that's going to keep it so much safer. The other thing we need to remember is, as adults, we also need to be protected from the sun. So make sure that you wear your sunblock. Make sure it's an SPF of 30 or higher. You want to apply it every 2 hours, and that's going to help keep you safe. The other thing we want to talk about today is water safety. When we talk about water safety, a lot of parents think they know how to already keep their kids safe. But the things they'll use for their children is floaties. When we talk about floaties, you guys, these floaties actually have a warning on them. The warning says that they are not going to protect your children, that they're just toys. So this is something that we don't want to see on kids. We need to remember that the number one killer of our children here in Arizona is drowning, and that's our 1 to 4 year olds. So we need to think of safer things for them. The best thing we can do is keep that eye-to-eye supervision and be close enough to touch when they're in the pool. The other thing that we can do for them is we can use a life jacket. With the life jackets, you always want to look and make sure it says U.S. Coast Guard approved. So whether that is a true life jacket like this, a smaller life jacket with the little hoodie, or a puddle jumper, make sure it fits your child, it's the correct size, and it truly says that it's U.S. Coast Guard approved. Very important with that. Other things that we need to think about
is just safety around the pool in general. So when we talk about being safe around the pool, we want to keep those kids and anybody outside of the pool that shouldn't be in there. So making sure you have a fence around that pool, and then that has a self-closing gate so that it closes behind you. Also make sure that no doggy doors lead out to the pool, so those little ones can't crawl through the doggy door and end up in that pool area without anybody knowing. Other tips to keep you safe is, if you're jumping into a pool or any source of water for the first time, you always want to go feet first so that you make sure you are gauging how deep that area is. And keep in mind too, with our infants, they can drown in kiddie pools. So it's really important that when we're not using those kiddie pools, that we empty them out and flip them over so that those infants don't drown inside of them. Other areas of water, especially here in the valley, we have a lot of canals that run through. Those banks are slippery and they're steep and people fall in them. So make sure, parents, when you're walking down those bike paths and trails next to the canals, that we make sure our kids know that they need to stay away from those canals. It looks like a a nice flat surface on the top of that water, but what people don't realize is actually underneath there's a large current that pulls, and it pulls people under, so it's really easy to drown in those canals. So stay away from them and just enjoy the bike path or the walking path next to it. We can also lose our kids to drowning from things like buckets, bathtubs, and toilets. So when we've got a bucket, we're using it for cleaning, or it just happens to be outside and we're using it for whatever. If it's not in use, it's important that when it's not in use, we always flip it over, upside down, and that it's empty so those kiddos don't drown inside that bucket. Toilets as well. Infants don't realize that toilets are kind of a gross thing, so they just see that as a water source and they think that water is fun. So keep your toilet lids down and closed. If you have a safety lock to keep that lid shut, that's great too. Or even just keeping the bathroom door shut to keep those infants out of there and from falling headfirst into those toilets. When it comes to bath time, we want to make sure that we're never leaving that child unattended in the bathtub. So make sure that you grab everything you need, including all of your shampoos, soaps, towels, washcloth, and never leave that child in there to go run and grab any of those things. Keep in mind too, an adult should always be the person in the bathroom watching the child, not just an older kid or a sibling. To keep us safe, swimming lessons are great. We can start our kids in swimming lessons as early as 9 months to a year. And while they don't make us drown proof, they do definitely put us at a less risk for drowning by knowing how to swim. So those swimming lessons are really important for our kids.
So let's keep in mind that we can all drown in 2 inches of water. The only thing that needs to be covered is our nose and our mouth. With small infants, it is their head that's the biggest part of their body. Their muscles are weak, and if they get down into the water, they can't lift themselves back up. And it's also important to know that we have twice as many adults drowned in Arizona than we do with kids. So make sure that as an adult, you're swimming with somebody there to watch you.
So when we talk about water safety, just to recap here, we want to remember all of our layers of protection to keep us safe. So we talk about our layers of protection. The first one is eye-to-eye supervision. So your eyes should always be on the person that you're watching in the water. Our second layer of protection is having that fenced-in pool. So making sure that that fence is keeping whoever out that shouldn't be in there, along with that self-closing and locking gate. Our third layer is having a locked door that leads out to the pool. So making sure that door is locked. And also you can get a locking handle that goes above where the child can't reach, so they're not able to open the door and get out to that pool unsupervised. Another layer of protection is our CPR and water classes, so our swimming lessons, making sure we know what to do in the event of an emergency, and also taking those swimming classes so we know how to swim. And also we want to keep in mind that our drain covers in our pools, they should be newer so that they don't have that suction that can adhere to the child's skin or clothing. Older drain covers can get onto that skin or get into those clothes and suck them those things into the drain. So make sure your drain covers on your pool are new.